Hello and welcome, Ken and Danny here, and today we're gonna be talking about how to buy a high quality and cheap used road bike. As you may already seen, this one is Trek 1.2 on Shimano Sora components from our Project 400, which means that we paid $400 or less for this one. Actually, I paid $380. First thing we want to consider when buying this bike is not the components, not the frame set, but the documentation of the bike. If the owner has the original documentation, it's just great. If he doesn't have it anymore, because we don't keep all that stuff, all that paper sometimes, then it's best to write the agreement which states who's buying, who's selling, what's the object of the sale, and the number of the frame should be on that document. And you just keep this document with you. It's just good for you. It shows that you are the owner now of the bike, and maybe when you will be selling the bike in the future, it's also better for you and you will get a better price for the bike. Now, of course, the soul of this bike, which is the frame set. We want to consider what kind of frame set it is. If it's the aluminum frame with carbon blades on the fork and the aluminum steering tube, I would say this is perhaps the best set for around $500. This one is very good, very well made. The welds are very fine on this Trek. I really like it. And the fork, which has the aluminum steering tube, will be fittable for heavy riders. So that's important for some of us, at least. What should we be looking for on the frame? Of course, any cracking, and this can happen anywhere, but this place here, the head tube of the frame, and here we've got the weld connecting head tube to the main tube, the down tube. We should be looking for any cracks here. There is absolutely none. There is absolutely none here and here as well. And then the place when the chain sack can damage the frame is just here behind those chain rings. But I can see that there was actually no chain sack in this bike. This is very good. It means that the bike wasn't abused, and the gearing, the drivetrain was always well adjusted. Very, very important for me when I was buying this bike. Another thing is, of course, the carbon fork. You want to be sure, you want to make sure that it wasn't hit by anything. And sometimes you can see some little cracks, or it looks like a hair actually, and the seller would tell you that this is just the paint that is cracking. You don't buy this bike, because most likely the frame is already damaged. Alright, so if you look at the frame, just do it slowly, no rush. This is the most important part of your bike, the frame and the fork. Ideally you would take the fork off the frame, but usually we don't do it. We should be realistic. We don't do it. But if there was a carbon steering tube, I would do it actually. Alright, so we have the frame set. We see that the paint job had some paint chips and so on, but it's okay. It's not a new bike. It's fine. It's gonna be working, and it's quite lightweight. And I'm just happy with the geometry of the bike. So this is 10 points for 10, I would say. And then some things. And then when we want to make sure that all the bearings are okay, it's also just to begin with, it's good to take the bike and do it like this. Because when there is any problem with the bearings, you will hear it right away. There is absolutely nothing happening with this bike, so it's fine. Then we of course will check out the wheels, if they are true. This one is actually a super true wheel. It's fine. When it has like 1, 2, 3 millimeters of horizontal movement, it's okay. But when the wheel is has some movement in the vertical direction, I would say this could be bigger of a problem for the wheels. Then of course the hubs, we don't hear anything, any noise. And also when we move the bike to the left and to the right, I don't see I don't hear, I don't feel any movement at all. So the bearing is okay. We do the same with the rear one. So I already know that the frame set is fine, I like it. I know that the wheels and their bearings are just okay. Now it's perhaps the brake pads. It's not that important because brake pads are not so expensive. They can be worn, but if we look at the brake pads, these are almost new actually. So I was also happy with that. It's also important to look at the surface of the rims. You can see how much it was worn. This one is very, very fine and even. So I can see that there was not so much mileage made on this bike. So it's fine. When we brake, just gently, you can feel whether there is a lot of friction inside the wires or not. Here there is some, but it's just okay, which means that I wouldn't have to change the wires. It can be maybe not costly, but it could cost up to, I don't know, $30 for the wires to change them, for the brakes and the shifters. And when we check the gearing, I see that shifting down and shifting up works just fine. So it's great. And now very important thing is to have this chain indicator with you, because it will show you how much the chain had been used, or just how much the bike was ridden. And I can see that the chain is okay. I will make another video just on checking the chain. But if you don't have it, you can do something else. You can try pulling the chain off the chainring and see how far it will go. You can see that this, I'm able to pull it like for 5 millimeters, which means that the bike has some mileage on it already. This one has around 400 miles, and you can see the difference here, maybe 3 or 4 millimeters. Here I'm able to do more. Yeah, but if the chain doesn't go completely off the tooth here, it's quite okay, but it's just best to have this indicator. It would cost you maybe $10, and you can save hundreds of dollars depending on how expensive the drivetrain is. Here we've got some Shimano Sora, so if I was to change the chain rings and the cassette and the chain, that could cost around, let's say, $50–80. Now in order to check the lower and upper bearing in our headset, we will just move our handlebar, and I don't hear anything, I don't feel any friction. When you're braking with one hand, just keep your fingers on the upper bearing and here on the lower bearing, and then you will feel any loosened bearings. These are just fine, so I'm happy with that. The last thing I'm gonna do is to check the bottom bracket. I'm gonna take the chain off the chain set, off our crankset completely, so that I'll be able to spin the crankset just like this. It works smooth, it works fine. You didn't hear anything, so see, this one works fine. It doesn't make any strange noise, and there is no movement here, which means that the bottom bracket is fine. So the frame set, the bearings, the headset, our bottom bracket and the drivetrain is just fine. So I would be ready to buy this bike, and I hope all those informations will be helpful for you as well. See you soon, bye!